I'm Dan Pascoe, maritime archaeologist and diver, and in these videos I'm diving with the Hazardous project group to investigate and explore the wreck of Hazardous. Hazardous was a 60-gun warship lost in 1706 in Bracklesham Bay, West Sussex. Over 300 years later, and we are excavating the remains of the hull, which survive on the port side from amidships to the bow and from gundeck down to the keel. Our aim is to enhance the knowledge and understanding of life on board a Royal Navy warship from the reign of Queen Anne. Here we are, back out on site, Hazardous. Going to continue with the excavation of the gun deck. Got all the tools. So we got this hard concreted layer plus a layer of cannibals, and to get that out we need some heavy duty tools. So I've got chisels, bolster, lump hammer. But often, while we're away, there's a bit of backfill, so we're going to use the airlifts to get rid of that backfill. So we're not airlifting sort of virgin ground. This is all stuff that's been excavated before, so we can be fairly robust with the airlift. It's just purely removing the backfill, and hopefully the viz looks good today. We get some good underwater footage to show you how we've been excavating the gun deck. So this is Cal coming to join me, swimming down the shot line, bringing the airlift and more hand tools. From the bottom of the shot, Cal heads north to the forward end of the gun deck, where I have already placed the air cylinders for the airlift. Cal then turns on the cylinder and connects up the direct feed hose from the cylinder to the airlift, and it is ready to use. The first task is to clear all the weed from the trench, and the airlift makes light work of this. Once the weed has been removed, then it's the sand and shells which have infilled since our last visit. As we are removing infill, we don't have to be careful until we reach the hard, compact, shelly layer. When down to this hard layer, then we swap the airlift for lump hammer, bolsters and chisels. I was working at the front of the carriage of the forwardmost gun. That's gun 13 on the site plan. I was clearing the hard layer between the front of the carriage and a rider, which extends up through the deck. In doing so, I revealed the left forward truck of the carriage and a void between the side of the cheek of the carriage and the inside of the hull. Next time, I will use a GoPro on a pole to try and record the details on the side of the carriage. As we believe this is a French carriage, I will be looking for the deliberate hole on the side of the cheek, which was typical of French carriages,
as they threaded the breaching rope through the carriage rather than round the breech of the gun. Here you can see Cal continuing to work at the rear of the carriage. He is trying to free up a loose timber which is stuck under the carriage and which is not part of it. Looking under the carriage, you can see the rear and forward trucks. Between the trucks, you can also see two concretions. I think the one closest to the rear truck is a concreted ring bolt, which is attached to the side of the bed. I believe this is evidence that the English converted the French carriage, so the breeching rope went around the breech of the gun via this ring bolt on the side of the carriage. At the rear of the carriage, you can see a layer of concreted roundshot at the transition of the deck and the side of the hull. Above the shot is the inner planking and the lower ends of two hanging knees. These knees supported the upper gun deck. Immediately aft of these knees is another rider, extending up through the deck. Riders were reinforcing timbers, which extended across the inside of the hull.
So yeah, second dive of the day today. Great visibility today. Unlike previous weeks, it was really nice to work. You can see what you're working on. Continuing bashing out that concreted layer down on the gun deck, getting quite close to the hull. I was working just aft of one of the gun carriages. There's a mound of cannonballs there, and in between the concretion layers I found this little tiny coin, which is quite heavily degraded, but if I put it down, maybe you can just see the indication of a head here, so the shoulders and the head, and some writing at the top there.
So Dave, not on this dive, but last week you found some interesting things.
Yes.
Can you explain what this is?
Well, I can now. None of us knew at the time, but a bit of research and colleagues in the archaeological community have identified this as a combined signet ring and pipe damper. So you would have this on your finger and you would be plugging your clay pipe, the tobacco down into your clay pipe with it. I doubt you could have worn it all the time because it would have been very inconvenient, but yeah. Some of the better preserved ones, there's been a very nice one off the London side from the Thames Estuary, shows that this was often a signet ring as well, and if you do Google searches or other search engines are available, you will find lots of well preserved ones from terrestrial sites with a very clear insignia in them as well. So yes, so
that's probably why it's brass and not gold, because you're not going to wear it all the time. You're going to wear it when you're
and
when
I
you're
imagine
smoking.
you know, everyone smoked, so I imagine it was a fairly cheap and cheerful. This one was a fairly cheap and cheerful one for your average Joe seaman.
Yeah, but that is a really interesting little find.
Yes,
and
never had one from the site before, and so none of us had a clue what it was.
Where was it found?
So this one was found inside the site, just by the edge of the concretion shelf.
Inside the site, brilliant.
Exposed, so naturally exposed. It wasn't excavated, it was naturally exposed surface recovery, which just shows that, you know, we didn't see it last week.
So inside the site, inside the cannonball mound, at the southern end.
By the southern end where there's that big concretion shelf.
I know what you mean. Yeah, that flat
concretion shelf. Yes, so down on the lower level.
Yeah,
so it just shows that stuff is getting exposed all the time, and if we're not there to find it, chances are it could get lost.
Yeah.
Because something like that in a high tide will just move like crazy.
Yeah, it's very light,
lost.
very light.
Yeah, and you can still see there is still some marking on there, so some kind of specialist illumination we may be able to make something out on that.
RTI.
Yeah.
So
That's number one.
that's number one. And then we've got this. Now this is more recognisable.
Yep.
I've seen a few of these before and actually recovered it.
A fair few.
few
Yeah.
off the site before.
We have a small pair of navigational dividers, and we have about 40 pairs of navigational dividers.
40.
40 over the course, yeah. So a massive collection of them, all different in styles, all different in sizes. What's interesting in these is the quality of the workmanship on even one of these. So the hinge there is a 4-piece
Yeah, I can see it.
hinge. By a pair of modern dividers, it's a 2-piece
Yeah, yeah.
hinge. That's a 4. Some of ours are 5s.
Really?
It's even more complicated. And we've had one pair that we could still open with ease.
So can
After
you
20
remember
years.
which style this one is?
I don't know what they call the different styles, but some of them are kind of like negative, so you squeeze on them to open them as opposed to like a pair of tweezers where you squeeze on them to close them. So, and there does look like there is some kind of marking around the outside. There, again, that needs to go under a microscope. Obviously quite bent. Sharp point. Now, whether that's erosion, because often these things would have steel tips, because they're much more durable, and often we find them truncated. But this is that very sharp point there may just be the result of 300 years rolling around the seabed.
Yeah, it is very small and delicate. It'd be
Yes.
nice to compare that, or the size of it, see if that is the smallest we've had. I can't imagine being
it's on
much
the par.
smaller than that.
No, and you often, you know, makes you think, were these owned by the young midshipmen, the 12, 13, 14-year-olds that were on board these ships training for the Navy? Obviously they're small, their hands are small, so it makes sense they have a small pair of dividers.
Good.
Don't know.
Interesting theory.
Yeah. Well,
Brilliant.
yeah, hypothesis at the moment.
Good, yeah.
But says the pedant.
Nice one.
Yeah.
No.